I talk quite often about becoming an Asian investor, about getting off the real estate roller coaster, but I've never talked about how your life actually changes when you become an Asian investor. At the end of the day, when we become Asian investors, it is a game changer, it is life changing. Welcome, everybody, to Asian Investor. I'm your host, Tom Caffarella, and we are back with another edition of the Asian Investor podcast. And I talk quite often about becoming an Asian investor, about getting off the real estate roller coaster, but I've never talked about how your life actually changes when you become an Asian investor. What actually is the difference in your day-to-day life when you go from an agent that just sells real estate to an Asian investor that does both? I want to talk about that today because I realize I've never done that in the past. I want to talk about why we're doing this. Like, why would we even follow the Asian investor model? Why are we listening to this podcast? Why are we trying to do some of these things? And how does it impact our life? Because at the end of the day, when we become Asian investors, it is game changer. It is life changing. It changes the life for us. It changes our families' lives. So I want to talk about that today. But before I do so, I want to talk about what the Asian investor model is before we talk about how following it will change your life. So the Asian investor model is really simple. I created the concept of Asian investor because most agents don't realize how easy it is to invest just by making a few small tweaks to their business. I have been coaching real estate agents and people to invest in real estate for a long time, going on 10 plus years now. And what I found is that while anybody can invest in real estate agents have most of the tools necessary in order to do it. Okay. So what is an agent investor? What do they actually do? What is the Asian investor model? The Asian investor model is really simple. There's 3 steps. Step number 1 is that you keep selling real estate for a living, right? You're already an agent. You're already earning income. Keep selling real estate to pay your bills. Keep doing that. But focus your efforts bit by bit on sellers, right? So focus your efforts a little bit more on sellers. You don't have to do that all at once, but that is step number 1. Step number 2 is to fix and flip the properties that you come across on a day-to-day basis for big chunks of income. Now, some of you may do these fix and flip projects on your own. Some of you may decide that you want to partner with our team. We talk about this all the time. The average profit when we fix and flip with an agent is $80,000, which means the average payout when an agent refers us a deal is $40,000. Okay. For those of you who are interested in learning more directly about our partner program, register for my next call at www.partnerwithagенtinvestor.com. Now, step number 3 is very important. This is the main way you're going to get off that real estate roller coaster. Like I said, step number 1, sell real estate for a living to pay your bills. Step 2, fix and flip deals that you come across on a daily basis for big chunks of income. Then when you get that $40,000 to $80,000, invest it into passive assets that pay you forever, whether it be syndications, whether it be assets that you own and operate. Okay. Those assets will grow in value over time. The rents will increase. Your expenses will decrease. At some point, you won't have a mortgage on that property. And that's how you create generational wealth. Most real estate agents understand like what owning an asset would do for them over the long haul. It is definitely not a 1-year process. It's not a 2-year process. But over the course of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, by following the Asian investor model, you can build up enough monthly income so that you have $5 or $10 or $15 or $20,000 or more coming in each and every month. So you no longer have to worry about if you're going to close a deal that month. Okay, so that is the agent investor model. Again, step number one, keep selling real estate for a living, but focus your efforts a little bit more on sellers. Step number two, make sure that when you come across sellers that want a fix and flip offer, that you're flipping those deals. If you want to partner with us, you make 40 grand on average. And step number three is to invest that income into passive assets to pay you forever. But so how does this actually change your day-to-day? How does this change your life? Like once you start doing this and you're 1 year or 2 year or 3 years in, right? Because it's not going to all happen right away. How does that impact your day-to-day life? So I want to talk about, again, the difference between being an agent only and an agent investor. Okay, so let's say that you don't become an agent investor. You just keep selling real estate. If you're an agent only, you're going to be on what we call the real estate roller coaster, where your income is always going up and down and up and down. You're going to have months where you close 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions. You're going to have months where you sell no transactions, right? Now, compare that to being an agent investor. When you own assets that pay you on a monthly basis, again, whether it's a syndication or an asset that you own, you're going to have guaranteed monthly income coming in. Like I mentioned, there's a big difference, right, between selling real estate and saying, hey, I hope I have 1 or 2 or 3 deals closed this month versus owning the asset and selling real estate together, knowing that at a minimum, you might have $5 or $10 or $15,000 a month coming in. Okay. All right. Now, if you're an agent only, you're gonna list homes, you're gonna work with buyers. Nationally, your average commission is gonna be maybe $10,000, right? And most agents don't sell a ton of houses. It's why it's very, very hard to save money. It's why most agents tell me, hey, I need to save money. How am I going to save money to buy an asset, right? Because a lot of agents don't save money because, yes, they're making good commissions, but a good commission might be $5 or $10 or $15,000. Now, in general, the only way that most agents make big hits is when they have big listings, $1 million listings, $2 million listings. And I've worked with so many agents that told me that out of nowhere, they're going to change their business. They're going to become $1 million listing agents. And I can tell you that the odds of success of that are very low. I can't tell you how many agents have told me that they're going to, sell high-priced homes and not have it happen. Now, compare that to agents who are focused on generating passive income from owning assets. The vast majority who have actually put their time, effort, and energy into doing it have done it. So for the most part, if you're an agent only, you're not going to have a lot of big chunks of income coming in. You're not going to have $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 coming in at a time. Whereas if you follow the agent investor model and you're looking for sellers and you come across flip properties, on average, if you partner with us, you're going to make about $40,000. Now, do that deal on your own, and of course, the number is double, right? So there's a big difference between, hoping that you're going to make $15,000 or $20,000 or $10,000 from a listing to doing a few of these transactions a year, making $30,000 or $50,000 or $40,000 at a time. All right, if you're just an agent, you're probably working with both buyers and sellers, and you might even be focused on buyers. I would say in general, more than half of the agents that I know, whether they're at my brokerage, outside of my brokerage, when they talk about lead generation and working with leads, more than half of them are talking about working with buyers. Why is that? Well, buyer leads are much cheaper. They're easier to come across. They're easier to generate. So in general, a lot of agents who don't invest, who don't follow the agent investor model, are very buyer heavy. Now, in 2025, as of this recording, that's not really where you want to be, right? You want to be listing heavy in 2025. You really want to be listing heavy at any point in the market, but especially when there's limited inventory, okay? Now, if you're an agent investor and you have guaranteed monthly income coming in from your assets, you are definitely focused on getting more sellers because you know that every seller appointment that you go on can either turn into a listing which maybe makes you $5 or $10 or $15 or $20,000, or a flip deal, which might make you $40 or $50 or $60 or $70,000. Now, when you come across a buyer as an agent investor, right, you're definitely not prospecting for them. You're definitely not paying for buyer leads. But when you come across them, you really screen them. Because guess what? You don't need every single client that you come across. So when you get a buyer opportunity, which you're going to get as an agent, right? We're not telling you to not work buyers. But when you get a buyer opportunity that comes across your desk with someone who you feel might not be qualified or barely qualified, you're probably most likely passing that on to a team member or somebody else who can take the lead, rather than if you're just an agent only and you're struggling to make ends meet and you're on the real estate roller coaster, you are probably taking every single buyer that comes across your plate. Okay, let's talk about being an agent only again. You're an agent only, you don't invest. You likely have no retirement plan, right? Because most agents make about enough money to survive, not much more than that. And it's why you see, if you're in a big real estate office, you'll see agents working forever. Now, I'm not against that. Like, if you want to work forever, I think I want to work forever. Like, I don't think I'm going to want to completely retire at any point. I like real estate. I love real estate. But many of them have to, right? Because they had no retirement plan, because they were hoping for these big years to make a big splash that never happened. Now, compare that to an agent investor. You're still selling real estate. You're still making enough money to pay your bills, but you're flipping homes and you're using that income to buy assets, which are both going to build in value and build your monthly income. So if you bought a property today and it was, in air quotations, only cash flowing about $1,000 a month, within the next 7 to 8 years, when those rents go up, you're likely going to be cash flowing $2,000, $3,000 a month. And then when that asset gets paid off, you might be cash flowing $4,000 or $5,000 a month. In addition to the cash flow going up, the value of that asset's going to increase. Now, if you sell that asset, of course, you get the money. Or if you refi that asset, you can take the money out tax-free, use it for whatever you want. Maybe you buy more properties. Maybe you use it for whatever you're going to use it for. But the assets you're going to build in value. So you've got a retirement plan. All right, so let's talk about if you're an agent only. If you're an agent only, and I've seen this a lot, right? Post-COVID, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now into 25, we have been in an extremely limited inventory market. I can't tell you how many agent-only agents that I know that don't invest leave to get full-time jobs. Why that happened? Well, I've seen plenty of agents in the past 3, 4, 5 years that used to sell 20 or 30 or 40 houses a year, now sell half of that, just based on the inventory, not based on anything they did, not based on a big mistake, but due to the market. So the market really has a major impact on agents' income if they just sell houses. Okay. Now, if you're an agent investor, don't get me wrong, you're still going to deal with the same market problems as an agent. However, you're going to have that guaranteed monthly income and those big hits of agent income, of flipping income that are going to come in on a regular basis, right? So you could actually afford to withstand a year where maybe your sales income goes in half. Again, most real estate salespeople are living off of 100% of what they make. So if in year one, they make $100,000 and in year two, the market gives them little transactions and they only make 50, guess what? Most of them have to go back to work. But compare that to an agent investor who has $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 a month of income coming in every month. You don't need to go out and get a job. All right, if you're an agent only and you don't invest, for most of us that just sell real estate and don't invest, we're going to be working nights and weekends forever. Now, I remember when I first got my real estate license, I remember thinking like, hey, I don't mind getting up on a Saturday and Sunday and showing a house or showing a house on Friday at 5 or 6 o'clock. As we all know, if we've been doing this for long enough, that gets old kind of fast. The problem is that if we're a traditional agent with a bunch of buyers, we kind of have to go when they want to go, right? So working nights and weekends forever is kind of what most traditional agents do. Now, if you're an agent investor, again, you're going to be focused more on sellers. You're going to be having more listings. You can build a business where you can actually create your own schedule. If most of your business is seller based and you have mainly listings, well, most seller appointments, it's maybe you go on one, maybe you go on two a week, and then you have your open houses probably on the weekend. But if you have a team who can actually work those open houses, you might not even need to be there, right? And again, going back to the principle of if you have guaranteed monthly income coming in, you don't necessarily need to do every single thing that your clients want you to do. You can pick and choose who you work with. Yep. So if you're just an agent, and I've seen this over and over again, and I want you to think about whether you've seen this. For most agents that I know, when they talk about like building their business and what they think it's going to become, into the future, most real estate agents talk about building a team. They talk about recruiting. They talk about recruiting real estate agents to be underneath them. They talk about those people selling properties. And I want you to really think about this. As a real estate agent, how many real estate teams do you know that are successful? Not that even exist, but that make money. So I have some unique insight to that as a broker owner of over 400 agents at my company. And I can tell you that nearly every team leader that I know that has either formed a team or has a team has not made more money having a team. In fact, it is common, and you will see this if you really think about it and observe, you will see a lot of teams form and then they disband. Why does that happen? Because it usually doesn't make the team leader more money. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, if you're an agent investor, your growth plan is to continue to add assets to your stockpile of inventory, right? So you might start out with one asset that pays you $1,500 a month or $1,000 a month. And a few more years later, you might have $5,000 or $6,000 a month. A few more years after that, you might have $10,000. And all of these things, all of the economic things that maybe are somewhat of a negative, like inflation, rents going up, prices going up, they're all good if you own assets, right? So you want to be an asset owner. All right, so another negative of just being an agent that changes when you become an agent investor. When you're an agent only and you stop working, your income stops. And even for people that build a successful team or even a successful brokerage, I mean, I have a brokerage of over 400 agents. That asset is not worth much money. And if you're a solo agent, it's worth almost nothing. So you kind of work your entire life trying to build, and then you don't really have anything left over. For the most part, when you stop selling real estate, your income stops, and that's it. Compare that to being an agent investor. And again, using those big chunks of income from flipping to then buy assets. Every year that goes on, your monthly income is going to grow. Your asset value is going to grow. You're going to be paying down that asset, right? So your net worth is going to grow. When you stop working, your monthly income from your passive assets are still going to be there. Your asset values are going to increase. And if one day you decide to, you can leave your assets to somebody else, right? Really hard, like if you have like 3 kids, you have a real estate sales business, what are you going to leave to your kids? Like, it's not really a lot to leave. And likely, even if your kids wanted to be in the real estate sales business, there wouldn't be a lot to leave, but most won't want to be. Again, compare that to owning an asset that, yeah, maybe, your children don't want to manage the property, but then you just get a property manager. All right. So if you're just an agent, right, you think about this. And for those of you who have been in real estate for a long time, you start the year essentially not really knowing your income, being at zero. And the hope is that you build your business over time so that every year it gets a little bit better. Every year your client base is a little bit bigger. Every year potentially your income grows. But even for those who do this successfully, and that's not a given, typically your business might grow like a little bit year over year. And again, I'm looking at statistics, right? I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm a broker owner. For those that have done a really, really good job, their business tends to get slightly better every year. Now compare that to being an agent investor and having assets. Things get exponentially better over time, right? If you own an asset, a real estate asset, you own a property, you own a rental, let's say it's worth $500,000 today. It is very likely that 10 years later, it's going to be worth $1 million or somewhere in that range. So without really having to put blood, sweat, and tears into it, your agent investor business will grow exponentially over time. So let's just say you're just an agent and not an investor. In general, you're not going to have a lot of tax benefits, right? And for those of you who have been, real estate agents and don't own any assets, don't invest in real estate, you know that if you make a bunch of money, you're going to have a big tax bill at the end of the year. It's probably already happened to you. Compare that to being an agent investor. Assets have tons of write-offs, right? So your income in general is going to be a lot lower based on the tax code than what you actually take in. And that's just how the tax code works. Again, this is not going to be a tax seminar, but that's just another benefit of being an agent investor. So I could probably continue to kind of go on and on and on about all of the benefits of being an agent investor. I feel like I don't mention the benefits enough. I feel like I don't talk about how life-changing all of this can be. Most real estate agents that I talk to that are in the beginning of their career, especially ones that just got their license, when they join our company and I sit down with them and I meet with them and I ask them why they got into real estate, what they want their business to look like. Most of them say they got into real estate because they wanted freedom. They wanted flexibility. They want an unlimited income earning. What most of them end up getting, the successful ones, are working kind of around the clock. I'm sure if you're an agent, you're a successful agent, you're on vacation, you're taking calls. You're on vacation, you're answering emails. You're on vacation, you're answering text messages. Now, I'm not saying that that's a terrible thing. I'm not saying that you should complain about that. But what I am saying is that the reason that most people got into real estate sales to begin with is the exact opposite of what they actually got. I mean, I guess it's cool. You could be on vacation and still kind of working, right? You could work from anywhere. You're not tied to a desk. I would say it's better than being a W-2 employee. But the problem for most of us is that it just becomes a 24/7, 365 type of thing. And again, when you become an agent investor and you start to fix and flip for big chunks of income, invest that income into passive assets, your life isn't going to change overnight. But bit by bit, year over year, everything is going to get better, right? Your income is going to go up. Your passive income is going to go up. Your net worth is going to go up. So that over the course of a 2, 3, 4 year period, your balance sheet is going to go up, right? You're going to be making progress. If you're listening to this right now and you've been in real estate sales and you haven't yet invested, or you're in the beginning phase of investing and you feel like real estate sales isn't getting you anywhere, it's not about quitting sales. It's just about taking a different approach to real estate sales. And again, we teach that. We teach the agent investor model. We teach on a weekly basis. How do you target sellers? How do you get educated on how to find them? How do you get educated on how to invest? How do you buy assets? How do you raise capital for assets? We teach on that every single week. So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, geez, like, I know I need to do this. I've been talking about doing this. The best thing to do is to jump on our next call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. The call is completely free. It's a Zoom call. Like, there's no requirement for you to talk. You can just sit there and listen. On the call, I talk about the agent investor model. I talk about how to shift your business away from buyers towards sellers. Again, that doesn't mean you stop working with buyers. You just start making steps towards working with sellers. I also talk about how you can get seller appointments directly from our team. We generate over 100 seller appointments per week, and we give a bunch of those appointments to real estate agents when we believe the seller would be a better fit for a listing than for a cash sale. So again, go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Everything that we talked about today, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes commitment. But again, it first starts with getting educated. If you feel like you have been on the fence of doing this, the time will never be better than starting today. Starting today doesn't mean you have to do anything crazy outside of what you're normally doing, but it does mean you need to get educated. So again, jump on a call with me at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. All right, guys, we'll be back again next week with another episode. Thank you for tuning in. And again, let's make those shifts from an agent to an agent investor. Thanks.